Hey everyone, happy Halloween. I hope you like my scary lighting. I call it nighttime. So the Bratz psychological horror movie. You might look at this and think it's gonna be like a fun sleepover adventure, and then they're gonna like wind up on the streets at night and meet like Angelina Jolie, and she bought the entire fashion industry and brainwashed the government into making everyone wear the same uniform and destroy fashion. Because that sounds like a Bratz plot. This movie is essentially like a Twilight Zone episode, but with Bratz. When you're watching this as an adult, it's kind of funny. But when you're watching this as a 7-year-old, you think you're just gonna watch a fun, silly Bratz adventure movie. It's terrifying. As we go over this movie, I want you to pretend that you are that 7-year-old. You think you're just gonna watch a fun, silly Bratz adventure movie, but you're not. The movie opens up with the Bratz kids walking with Sasha's dad, who I do think looks like Frankenstein, to their new friend's house for a fun sleepover.
I thought nobody lived here.
Well, yeah, I told you. She just moved to the neighborhood.
Where'd you meet her again?
I told you. In front of the old movie theater.
That place has been closed for years.
I didn't say we were in the theater. I said in front of it.
So within the last 15 seconds, we've gotten an extremely large amount of red flags. The girls mention that no one's even supposed to live here. Sasha's like, yeah, they just moved here. And I know this because I met her at the abandoned movie theater. I know it was like the early 2000s, and times have changed. I don't really understand why Sasha's dad just dropped them all off there and didn't like, make sure these people aren't serial killers. As far as he knows, they could just be staying in an abandoned crack house, which, spoilers, they kind of are, but we'll get into that later.
Welcome, ladies!
I'm so excited! My first sleepover!
Anyone who has watched this movie as a child, that scene I just played terrifies you. And for people who haven't watched this movie as a child, you'll see why later. I have literally thought about this scene for the last 14 years. I'm not even joking. It's one of the reasons I'm always gonna remember this movie exists, and I was thinking about it, and I was like, oh my gosh, I should talk about that Bratz psychological horror movie that scarred me for life as a child.
Sleepover. I've never had one before. We'll have fun tonight, and you'll feel like you've always known us.
We get a fun sleepover montage, and I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't a Bratz person as a kid. I don't know the Bratz lore. Aren't they the ones that make this magazine when they're older? Why is the magazine here? Why are they reading it? I really appreciate the OP explaining what they are. I wasn't quite sure that they were Bratz kids. Also, I forgot to mention, this is Ginger. Ginger's the girl that Sasha met at the abandoned movie theater. Megan and Sasha. Side note, I also don't know who Megan is. I thought it was just the four of them. Who is Megan? Why is she here? Megan and Sasha start getting a little rowdy. Ginger gets very freaked out by this because Ginger has anxiety. Same girl. She's very scared of her parents, specifically her mother. After mother tells them to go to sleep, the Bratz kids all gaslight her.
I don't know. My mom said bedtime. She said to try and get some sleep. Parents don't really expect kids to sleep at a sleepover.
And then they tell scary stories. That's an ongoing theme in this movie. Sasha starts telling her scary story, which is about mirrors. Those like twisty, spooky mirrors at the amusement park. We get an iconic skirt and jean combo moment, Y2K, slay, live, laugh, love. Sasha is vain.
It's not me. It's the girl in the mirror. She's the one that can't take her eyes off me.
Once you know what's about to happen in the story, that line is extremely unsettling. Even though this is a children's movie, there are a lot of very, very unsettling things in this movie, which we will get into later. Sasha finds a different mirror in a dark room. She does some silly little spins, and then she notices that the mirror is no longer mirroring her. And then it tries to strangle her. It jumps out and it leaves. She finds the mirror image of her outside, and it's just this dead, eerie silence as they just stare at each other. The doppelganger starts following her, and she's always like right behind her no matter where she goes.
Here's looking at you, kid.
Like, she gets on this roller coaster and she's still right behind her somehow. She decides to go back to the mirror room. Alone. She gets pulled into the mirror and she gets trapped, and the doppelganger leaves and leaves her to stay in the mirror forever.
Wait! I'm the real Sasha! Let me out! Let me out!
And then the story ends. Ginger is very scared, but of course they disregard her feelings because the Bratz kids are all best friends. Live, laugh, love, everyone.
It's all true. It is. Really? It's just spooky stories. You should so not worry. I've got a perfect story. You'll love it, Ginger. Are you sure?
Chloe starts telling her story. This one is not scary. This one is funny. I like this one. It also has a TikTok audio. Play the TikTok audio.
You are ruining my chances of getting a puppy!
Chloe wants a dog. Her family's like, you need to be responsible. That's totally understandable. They tell her to go dog sit because that one lady wants a dog sitter. Then they mention that she's gonna have to pick up poop and she gets really upset and she starts freaking out. But like, girl, you have to do that with a dog. Maybe you aren't ready for a dog then. But she's just like, okay, and then she just skips away. There is one scene in the story that genuinely unsettles me, and it's the scene coming up here. She knocks, and there's no answer. And then she rings the doorbell. Literally, like, the second she rings the doorbell, she just walks away. I love that. The old lady yells at her to come in.
Come in!
I can't. The door is...
Come in! Come in! Come in! Come in!
Over and over again with the exact same tone. That terrifies me. I don't even know if that was deliberately supposed to be scary. I think that they just took one take of that voice line and just kept playing it because they didn't know what else to do. It also turns out that was not even her. Why'd they make her face look like this? Why are the Bratz low-key kind of ageist? Again, this story specifically is not scary, but I feel like that one scene sets it up so good that it could have been terrifying, because I'm gonna spoil it for you, but that was the dog talking. The dog talks. That's the funny, scary thing in this story. Like, if we didn't know the dog talked and they played up that we're not gonna know the dog talks and they made it as terrifying as that one scene, I feel like this one could have been the best story. Anyway, this lady's totally fine with Chloe just taking her dog for 3 days, giving the dog to this random 9-year-old. Chloe starts dragging the dog home. The dog's name's Taco, by the way. Has a funny accent. I like him.
Throw skimp on those and throw in an extra fortune cookie in case I don't like what the first one says.
What have you done?
As far as takeout goes, Chow Yang is my favorite. Don't need cash. About 65 ought to do it.
$65?
I like to tip generous.
So there's a lot of things in the scene I do not understand. For one, she could just go stop him in the middle of the order, but she just stands there for some reason. Like, girl, he's a tiny dog. You can take him. And also, she doesn't need to give money for the tip. Why is she letting this dog bully her into giving money for a tip? I'm not saying don't tip. You should tip. She's 9 though. And this magical dog just bought Chinese food and is making her pay for it and essentially stealing all of her money. I don't think in this situation she needs to tip him. Like, she legit just let this dog bully her into giving $12 extra into this Chinese food order. So they want $53. And look at this tiny tray. So one of the reasons that Taco will not speak around her family is because he doesn't want to like end up in a science lab the rest of his life. Valid. So Chloe kind of ends up tricking him into situations where she looks responsible in front of her parents and he's miserable, but he can't say anything because her parents are there. They waterboard him, but then they put him in a cute little sweater, so everything's fine. Then at the end, she gives Taco back and her parents do buy her a dog. Oh no, dog talks to... Haha, the end, funny moment. I really wish though that they had written it where she did not know that he talks and she just keeps like hearing voices, probably very similar to that like old lady voice just repeating itself over and over again, and she can't figure out what it is, and then it's like, oh, the dog talk. I like that better. I should have written this movie. Too bad I was only 6 when it came out. Scary mom comes back to tell them to go to sleep, and they still stay up and tell stories, but Ginger's like, hey, my mom wants us to go to sleep.
Come on, Ginger. It's a sleepover. It's not about sleeping. You gotta tell spooky stories.
And then they gaslight her again. One of the reasons this movie also gave me a lot of anxiety as a child, besides like how terrifying it was, is I had a lot of anxiety as a kid, and I was one of those kids that needed all the adults to be okay with me and they could never be mad at me. Whenever like other kids were doing something wrong, I would go tattle on them because I didn't want to be associated with those kids and get yelled at. So I totally relate to these scenes of like, no, we shouldn't do this because the adults are gonna gonna be mad at us. We can't do this. But they just keep gaslighting her. So Megan tells the next story. This is one of the stories that did traumatize me as a child. I think about this scene a lot, all the time, even as a grown adult. This is another one of the things that I've thought about for the last 14 years. So we're at the fair. Megan wants pie, but Megan's sister is like, no, we're not getting pie. And Megan's sister says they just had lunch, and for some reason they say a lot of things like this in this story about like, we'll waste the whole day. We just had lunch. We'll do that later today. It's nighttime. I thought maybe they only made one version of this fair and it's at nighttime because every other version of it has been at nighttime. But no, later on there is a daytime version. So this story is a very classic story of I'm a kid and I want to do what I want, but my bossy big sister is telling me what to do and I hate her. There are some moments that Megan's sister is totally in the right and Megan's just being a brat, but then there are some moments where like Megan's sister's being a brat because she's also a child. Megan does get barfed on. They buy her a new shirt, and I know that shirt was probably like $50, but for some reason Megan's sister's friend still like insults her and says it looks bad.
Shirt is way off the subject. It's the best we could do for a quick change.
And like it's literally just a baggy t-shirt and she's 9. I feel like this is probably the most normal thing any Bratz 9-year-old has ever worn. Unfortunately, Megan does not get any pie. The clown does take the last piece of pie. I know, it's truly tragic.
Welcome to Senior Miracle's mysterious magical encounter.
During this magic show that Megan's sister dragged her to see, she does get called as a volunteer. She goes in one of those boxes where they're like, she's gonna disappear, she's gonna be gone. Then Megan opens the door and everyone else is gone. And Megan is very happy about that because now there's no one to boss her around. Who cares if that's really unsettling that everyone just disappeared? At least now her bratty older sister can't tell her what to do. She can eat all the pie she wants now because even though no one's here, there it is, freshly made. And look, there's no more line to that ride she wanted to go on earlier. And there's no sister to stop her now. She goes on the ride, but as soon as it drops, she is terrified and she's screaming out for her sister, but her sister isn't there. No one's there. She's absolutely terrified, but the ride never stops. It keeps going and going and going over and over again, and she's screaming every single time. And the thing is eventually it does stop, but it also started on its own and stopped randomly on its own, so it's almost like it's some weird punishment for her because she complained to her sister about it. When she does finally get off, all the pie is back again, freshly made. No one is there. Clown animatronic turns on by itself and just laughs at her. And the laugh follows her throughout the entire amusement park. There's this clown portrait now. Everywhere she looks, it's just clowns and laughing. And she eventually breaks down sobbing.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to wish you away.
I want you to pretend you are a 7-year-old thinking you're just gonna watch a fun little Bratz movie, and this is what you end up watching. I think one of the reasons this freaks me out so much is, as I mentioned, as a child, I had a lot of anxiety, and I already had a really hard time ever disobeying adults because I was so terrified of them yelling at me or being disappointed in me. And specifically, even my older sister, like as soon as this story started playing, I was annoyed as a child because I was thinking I would never treat my sister like that. And this just reiterated in my head that if I behaved like this, something bad was going to happen to me. This was going to happen to me, and it terrified me. Eventually, she figures she'll go back to the little magician box. She goes back in, says the chant, nothing happens, but then when she grabs the wand, everyone's back now. The magician tells her to keep the wand as a momentum, and he also had mentioned to her when she went in that when she opened the door, everyone was going to disappear. So it's almost like he knew and he sent her to the hell dimension to teach her to respect her sister, but it did work because she has a lot more respect for her sister, and her sister also realized she was being a little unfair at times, and it all worked out, except as the story ends, it zooms away and the clown does start laughing again. Back to the gaslighting. They ask her what's wrong, and she's like, can we just stop? And they're like, no, it's getting fun now. They hear this weird noise though, and Ginger's very, very quick to tell them that it's nothing. And she's also quick to change her mind and decide that she does want to keep telling scary stories. The next story is Yasmin's. Her mom is the mom from Bratz, Pixie Fashion Fairies. I don't remember it. I just remember that was my favorite Bratz movie, and that was the one I watched the most. Yasmin wants a charm bracelet because everyone at school is wearing charm bracelets. Her mom's like, no, I'm not getting you a charm bracelet because no one's gonna be wearing them them in a week.
It's too extravagant for a girl your age. It's not even your birthday.
I don't know why she says it's too extravagant for a girl her age though, because like, ma'am, it has rocking horses on it. Yasmin's mom then gives her money because she has to go buy a birthday present for her friend, but Yasmin goes and buys a charm bracelet for herself instead. Takes the extra money and buys her friend a vase for her birthday. Anyway, no one's wearing the charm bracelets anymore. She didn't even get one day to be trendy and cool. It's over. You know what is trendy and cool now? Funky flared jeans. When Yasmin gets home, she puts the charm bracelet in her official Bratz jewelry box. I don't really know how that works, but the bracelet does keep coming back. It just follows her everywhere she goes. She gets rid of it and then it comes back. She drops it in the lake and it comes back. I like this egg texture. Yasmin finally decides to confess to her friend, and then she gives her friend the bracelet because she thinks it's like cursed for her, but it won't be cursed for her friend. And even if it is, her friend always loses jewelry anyway, so it works out. There's another noise and Ginger's mom comes in and she doesn't catch them this time, but when she leaves, Ginger is terrified and she wants to go to sleep, but they still don't care. They ask her if Ginger's really that scared of her mom, but she says she's just really scared of the stories. And they still gaslight her and make her feel bad. And they give her excuses on why they have to keep going.
Your mom seems so sweet. She wouldn't get upset about us telling spooky stories, would she? But this is just getting good. And Jade hasn't had her turn. Yeah, guys, Jade needs to tell her story. And then we'll stop, okay?
Friendship. So this is another one of the stories that terrified me. I think Megan's story is the best written. This is probably definitely the one that like freaked me out the most as a kid. In this story, Jade's going on about how she's not scared of this new roller coaster like her friends are. And her friends keep telling her that it's okay if she's scared. It happens. You can be scared. That's when you lean on your friends because that's what they're there for. Unless you're Ginger. And then you. They tell her that this boy went in and he kept saying he wasn't scared and he never came out. And the 25-year-old guy that's running the ride also says that for some reason. Why are you talking to these 9-year-old girls? I really think that she realized early on that she wanted to say that she was scared, but now she's just in too deep and she can't go back. And then they're like, you probably hurt that guy's feelings. Why is he even talking to you? He's 25. Leave. Run away. They go through the ride and Jade starts listing off all the reasons why this ride is dumb. And then they go through the hypnosis void and now Chloe's eyes are glowing. And then they stop and now all of their eyes are glowing. And then it gets completely black and they are all monsters now. You might think these monsters are a little goofy, and they are. Even when I was 7, I didn't think they were that scary. It's just the way the scene is set up that's so upsetting. Like, they also completely stop talking to her right before their eyes start glowing, and she keeps asking if Chloe's okay, and it's just silent. And now they're just gone. They're replaced. Are they replaced? Did they get eaten? Is this them? You don't even know. They were her friends 5 minutes ago, and her friends are just nowhere to be seen anymore. And now she's trapped on this ride with these monsters that are trying to kill her. When she finally does get off the ride, it's a super duper long scene of her just screaming and being chased. She's going down hallway after hallway. She cannot find her way out. She does do a funny little dance to distract them though. She eventually does make her way back to the cart, but they're there again and they are trying to kill her again. And as she's screaming and crying, her friends come back. When they get off the ride, they all make fun of Jade because she was really scared. She had her eyes closed that entire ride. And Jade is just traumatized. She will never be the same person again. And as we walk away, we find out they were the monsters. And they still are. After going on that ride, her friends are gone. They are replaced by these creatures. Those are not her friends. Something happened in this ride, and those 4 girls are dead now. If they aren't dead, they're dead on a spiritual level because they're not the same people they were before they went on that ride. When we go back, Ginger is absolutely traumatized. Even though before Jade's story, they finally said they were going to go to sleep after this one, they lied to her. Now she has to tell a story. And if it's not scary enough, they aren't going to bed. They're just going to keep telling stories, even though she is like begging them to just go to sleep. It's sadistic. This is her first sleepover. She was so happy, and they just will not let up.
Bill and the Donkey, charades, had a fashion show, dance contest. They had a really good time and got to know each other. The hostess could tell they were all going to be the best of friends.
Wake me up when you get to the scary part.
And they are just so mean to her for absolutely no reason.
Yeah, really scare us.
Oh, don't worry, she's going to. As she's telling the story, she starts having like a nervous breakdown.
It was time to go to bed. They rolled out their sleeping bags on the floor. And no, I don't think I can. I can't go on. It's too terrible, too horrible. I can't.
And she runs off. They finally feel bad, and realize maybe they've been kind of mean. They decide to go talk to Ginger and apologize, but as they leave the room, the lights are not working. The whole house is looking a bit different. It's dusty, and there's cobwebs, and it's old now. It's very obvious that no one has lived here for a very, very long time. The Bratz are just too dumb to realize that. They keep searching the house thinking they'll find Ginger and her parents eventually. This picture is there for some reason. We finally figure out where that noise was coming from. It's the broken windows. They go back to the room that they were hanging out in, and it's just old and destroyed. When they leave, the house is just old and destroyed and completely abandoned. No one was ever there. No one had ever lived there. The house they've been in for the last couple hours is gone. And the family they were just with is also gone. They freak out and they run into the streets, and all of a sudden the things they've been talking about in their stories are there. They reach Megan's house, and Megan says that she can stay with them, but when they get to Megan's house...
Welcome, ladies!
I'm so excited! My first sleepover!
And that continues to happen with everyone's house they go to. They go to Sasha's house because Sasha's parents are throwing a party. So, like, they can't be at her house, too. Side note, I think the reason her dad just dropped them off and did not care at all was he was just really excited about his party. He had his fun little car, and he was gonna go party the night away. They open the door to Sasha's house, and Ginger's family is there again, but the scene plays out a little bit different this time.
Welcome!
Whatever. What's wrong with them? How rude was that?
What did they have to be afraid of anyway?
They all turned into the monsters from Jade's story. We don't know why. There's no explanation. They don't really acknowledge it. They're just monsters now. They talk like monsters. They act like monsters. They're gonna go into the sewers. They're kind of also just gone. Their personalities are gone. They are these monsters now, just like in Jade's story. And then the movie ends. You can understand why this movie terrified me, and I'm sure many other people, as a child. It has a super open ending. I have a theory on what happened. I think at some point in the night, they all just got brutally murdered. They were with this like weird ghost family. They were in this abandoned house, but I think that they were so horrible to Ginger, they just ended up dying. And as punishment for being so horrible to her, they're now just gonna have to live in this purgatory where they're living out all of the stories that they were telling. But yeah, that was Bratz Sleepover Adventure, a truly terrifying relic of the 2000s, and one I will think of for the rest of my life, and I'm sure a lot of you feel the same. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you could sense my passion for fashion. I like my outfit. I like my Hello Kitty pants. But yeah, I hope everyone has a slay day. Live, laugh, love. Embrace your passion for fashion, and don't gaslight people. I think that's the true moral of this story.